Hey everyone, welcome to How to Conquer JavaScript for Your Clients. In today's presentation, you're going to learn how to diagnose JavaScript issues and also how to conquer them. So I'm very excited to be having this presentation today, and let's just jump into it. So let's start with today's agenda. So this is what we have on the agenda. Let me just move this up real quick. We have nothing. No, I'm just joking. So you're going to learn what web crawlers are. You're going to learn what the Google index is, why I believe JavaScript is the future, and do you believe JavaScript is the future? If you do or you don't, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment right now. I really want to know. You're going to learn the JavaScript indexation process, so how Google indexes JavaScript websites. You're going to learn the impact that JavaScript can have on SEO, and then also how to diagnose JavaScript issues. So let's just jump into it. So first, let's talk about what are web crawlers, right? So web crawlers are internet bots that crawl the World Wide Web for the purpose of web indexing. So in simple terms, without these guys, Google would never know that our pages exist. And they basically allow Google to know what pages exist on the web. And they help us to give visibility to our pages to users who are searching for things online. So they're extremely important when it comes to the indexation process, because without them, again, people wouldn't know that we even have websites. So we have to really be thankful for these guys, and we're going to get into the process of how exactly they work. But this is just like a quick introduction. So let's jump into the next slide. So there's so many different types of web crawlers. So you saw the last one, which was Googlebot, right? But since there's so many search engines, there's way more. So there's Bingbot, there's Slurpbot, and a whole list of others that I didn't mention in this presentation. Google, currently, we all use Google, and we know that Google is winning in terms of market share. They take up 92, almost 93% of the entire market share for search engines, and that is no surprise. Like, I never use Bing or Yahoo. I don't know anybody that does, by the way. And then you have Bing at 2.44% market share. Again, really not a surprise. I don't think a lot of people use, well, not everyone uses Bing, but a lot of people do use it, and that's something that is going to be surprising that we're going to get to. So I just kind of gave some spoilers there, but then Slurpbot, right, is 1.64% of market share. So again, these are the most popular and most significant web crawlers, and we can still leverage them to our advantage, because a lot of people are sleeping on them. A lot of people don't think that they're really worth trying to optimize for, but we're gonna jump into that right now. So Google receives 1.7 billion searches each day. Now that's a lot, and I cannot stress how much more that is to Bing and Yahoo. But 2.44% of the market is literally 12 billion searches done yearly. That's still 12 billion people that you can get, well, it's not 12 billion people, but that's still 12 billion searches that you have the potential to be in front of in your industry, right? And obviously, if we segment it, it's less, but it's still a lot of searches. And then Yahoo at 6 billion searches yearly. So again, guys, these crawlers are super important. It's not just about Google, but obviously Google's a big dog that we all want to conquer or get on. So let's just talk about real quick how web crawlers work from a fundamental aspect, right? So you have a web page, and so Google analyzes the content on your web page, right? So you have the crawler that looks at all the content on your web page and tries to identify what is on your web page. Specifically, what they're looking for as well is links, right? Because links allows them to discover other pages. So if you have internal links or external links, those are both going to be good signs, right? And what that allows Google to do now is to discover all of the other pages on your website. So this is how it goes. So Google crawls web page A. Then after Google crawls web page A, it looks for all of the links on that. And then after it finds the links, it then travels from web page A to web page B, C, and D, right? From those links. So it allows Google to discover all of those other web pages. So that's why internal linking is so important, especially internal linking to your other pages. You want to make sure that you're always in, that everything is linked together so Google can discover it. So now let's talk about the Google index, right? So again, if we didn't have web crawlers, Google would not be able to store pages in their index, because web crawlers are what allows Google to even know that those pages exist. So the Google index is essentially where all the information about web pages are stored. It is the results that you see after conducting a search on Google. So every time you type in something on Google and you see things coming up, that is the index. That is the index page, okay? And so you want to see your page being shown there all the time, because that's how other people find you. They find you through Google's index. So how does the Google index work, right? I'm just going to move this again. I know it's a little distracting, but essentially what happens is, again, you have that process. Google crawls the web page and then it analyzes the content. The content is then stored in the index. The user starts typing in something to find something online, maybe you looking for a new car or something. And then after the user types that data in, the algorithm is applied. Then the data is fetched from the index and then the result is served to the user, right? So the algorithm is applied. After the algorithm is applied, once it meets the criteria that Google thinks is good enough to be shown and displayed, the users, they then see the results. So you can see that process right here, right? Stored in the index, user types in a query, data is fetched, and yada yada. So let's talk about why I believe JavaScript is the future, and why, as an SEO, it's important to understand how JavaScript works. So each year, the number of websites that are utilizing JavaScript is increasing. It's increasing like crazy, actually. And so one of the ways that I want to show you that is if you look at some of the data and some of the statistics and what the data is telling us, right? So JavaScript right now is the highest in-demand coding language, right? Like right now, 67, it's, you can look at this chart and see what people are looking for the most. And it's obviously JavaScript. And this is reflected when you look at some of the major websites, like T-Mobile uses JavaScript in their website. You can see how their website is loading. Just all of these websites are using JavaScript nowadays. And so what is like the indexation process, right? Like Google indexes websites built with JavaScript way differently than websites without JavaScript, right? So without JavaScript, it's just like very simple, that process where they crawl, they analyze the content stored in the index, right? That's it. But with JavaScript, there's actually two waves of indexing. So they crawl the web page, they try to find all that they can, and then they store it. They store that data in Caffeine. Caffeine is their indexing infrastructure. Now, let me just move this down again. Sorry. Right. So it's the indexing infrastructure. Now, after that first wave of indexing is done, now it's the next wave of indexing where Caffeine is essentially trying to render the content, trying to get the content so Googlebot can see it. And after Googlebot sees it, after it's rendered, Googlebot crawls the page again, sees that content, then it is able to store that content in Caffeine, and that's the second wave of indexing. So now that content can be visible. The problem is that this process can take a little long, especially if the website is not coded in a way that's going to be beneficial for you. Okay, so then I know this is annoying you guys. Let me just move this one more time. So then what does that mean? So JavaScript can put your competitors, your clients at a competitive disadvantage. So if you work in a news site, for example, where information always needs to be updated, if you update the information and you're using JavaScript and you're using the wrong type of JavaScript, then that information might be slow to update. And if your competitors are able to update their information on their website faster than you, then you are fundamentally at a disadvantage. And we need to learn how to diagnose these issues so that we don't have this problem. So again, JavaScript can prevent Google from seeing your content. They can slow down your ranking process, and it can also cause you to lose traffic or money. And nobody wants that to happen to their clients, right? So how do we then diagnose these JavaScript issues? I mean, they're super annoying. They seem like so much to deal with. And so that's what I'm gonna talk to you about today. And I'm gonna use there's so many ways to do this stuff, but I'm gonna just show you the easiest methods that I use in order to diagnose these issues. So you can utilize Google Search Console. So let's jump into Google Search Console to show you what that looks like. So okay, guys, so one way you can do this is you can use the mobile the mobile friendly test tool that Google has. This is actually also in Search Console, but if you need it, you can just go to Google and type in Google mobile friendly test tool, right? And what you can do is you can take the URL that you want to see. So for example, I want to use T-Mobile because I use T-Mobile, like I have them as my carrier for my phone, and I know that they utilize JavaScript on their website. So let's just pull this up real quick. I mean, we could clearly see this because of how this page loads. Just to show you real quick. So this indicates to me that they're using JavaScript. But let's look at this real quick and let's just double test, right, or double check. So if we type this in, if we enter in their URL, let's see what comes up. So this is analyzing how this web page looks to Google. So this is the first method of how I like to diagnose JavaScript issues. So let's just wait for that to load. Just give it a second. Okay, so it says the page is mobile friendly, but it does say that there's some page loading issues. But if we look at the actual image of what Google is seeing, it looks like this is all Google is seeing, which I'm not surprised by, right? But that still doesn't tell us what we need to know. So what we need to do is examine the HTML of the website to see if Google is actually reading the content, because this is important, right? This is what we want to rank. I mean, this is what we want Google to see. So let's just take some of this content and put it in here. So far I put this in here. I can't see anything. Let's also just grab this and put this in a text editor, like Note++. Just copy this code. No. All right, copy this code real quick. Let's just put it in here. Oh wait. Yeah, let's copy it. Unless I have to, do I have to select it? I don't know why my thing is acting weird, but it's not letting me copy this for some reason. And my mouse isn't working. All right, so I want to copy this code. Should be able to copy this. Let's just see. Maybe I just can't paste it in here. Not sure why it's not working. But anyways, so if we take this little piece right here and we just paste it in here, we should be able to find where it says that. I mean, if we were to do that for any other website, right? Like for example, let's just test my website, mobile friendly test. Let me just type in. Let me just move this out of the way. Okay, let me just type in https DreseanRyan.com. Let's just see, you know, how Google is looking at my stuff. But essentially, what we should be able to do is just literally come in here, add in, go to this this search the search function and just look for this actual feature. I mean, not feature, this actual text, and it should be able to 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 show up within the HTML. If it doesn't, that means that they're having an issue, right? So let's just do the same test for mine. So I know something on mine is let's just type in R. Are you? Yeah, so you can see right here, are you struggling to increase the number of downloads to your mobile app, right? So the fact that their text isn't being displayed, that means that T-Mobile likely has a issue with JavaScript, and this would be something that you would want to tell their developers, right? Google clearly can't see the content, but let's also look at the second method that we have here in this presentation, in order to determine that. So the first method was looking at Google Search Console, and then the second one is going to be looking at the cache version of the page that's being indexed. So let's just take a look at that real quick. Let's hit the back button right here. Whoops. Google, actually, site tmobile.com. Forget if they have a dash. I think they do. Let's just look at the cached version. Well, unfortunately, I can't see the cached version of their website. Let me just check another page. Okay, let's look at this. So I'm assuming that we can't see that cached version because Google isn't able to see anything on the page. But usually you could see something. But if you look at this, we can clearly see this. Okay, so this is also having an issue as well. Yeah, so this is having an issue as well. If this is what Google is seeing, right? This is also a JavaScript issue. So now, but real quick, just to show you, I want to open up that other page that I found. And I think it was this one. Yeah. So let's take this page real quick. Okay, so it was this page. So this is the tablets page. So maybe they know and they're working on it, but that was weird. Yeah, that was pretty weird. But let's just take the same page and put it in here. Let it analyze that page and see what happens. Just give it a second. It's just loading. It's taking a little bit. Okay, so we can see the screenshot that Google's able to see. So we can it's safe to assume that Google can read the content because obviously we see that. But let's just take this and type that in, right? Because this will confirm. So we take that and type that in here. Tablet and devices. Well, I can see content right here. Hold on. I wonder why it says tablet and internet devices. So maybe they're displaying different content. They are displaying content, but so let's just see. Why is this freezing? Just give it a second, guys. My Google Search Console has frozen or has froze. Oh, wait. Unless it's not. Yeah, so tablets and internet devices, for sale. This is this, oh, that's the title. I'm gonna assume that this is mentioned in the page multitude of times. Yeah. So this is the title. I think the other stuff was OG data markup for social media and stuff. But we can see that. So this is the title of the actual page, but we need to identify the actual if the. So let me see something. Sync up. Because I believe that it's together. It's not apart. Just bear with me, guys. This is actually taking extremely long to load. Hey guys, so I paused this, but this keeps happening where Google. I mean, when I'm trying to use the Google Search Console tool to go through this code in here, it keeps wanting to crash the web page. But one thing we can say is that they are able to find some content, however they're finding it, because you can see it in the screenshot, and also even though I can't see it in the code, they're probably using some type of script to change the code or something like that. But you can definitely see it in the cached version of the page. Now on the home page, that's not the case. So I'm honestly gonna say that this page is even ranking because of maybe backlinks that's being pointed, which is probably showing relevance, and then also maybe the title tag. But this is one of the huge. So looking at a case like this company, T-Mobile, even though they're getting visibility, trust me, this is the updates that they want to make to their website and things that they want to do to their website is definitely taking longer to process in Google's eyes, and that's not good. That is putting them at a huge disadvantage, right? And so you need to be able to solve these problems and be able to show this to your clients. And then some of the last things I want to talk about real quick, really briefly, is the types of you know the types of rendering. And I wasn't going to get too much into this, but I think this is very important to know when trying to first understand why Google can't crawl a web page and trying to provide a solution. So there's two types of rendering, right? There's client-side rendering, and then there's server-side rendering. So what this means is that whenever Google crawls your website, it is, essentially initiating a request. It's like crawling and it's trying to request information from your server. When Google is requesting that information from your server with a client-side rendering process, what happens is what's being sent back is an HTML file, like a bare bone HTML file with JavaScript in it. The JavaScript then has to your browser, which is what is the client, is 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 trying to render the content, right, so that it can be displayed. So the browser is doing most of the work in this instance, right? The browser is receiving the information from Google, I mean not from Google, from your server, and then it's working hard to render the content. The problem with this is that Googlebot isn't your browser, right? So it's hard for Googlebot to access this content because the content that it needs to see is in a JavaScript file, and Google can't see it. It's being hidden. So a solution in many cases, and what you're going to want to prefer when you're working with a developer, is to tell them that they need to use server-side rendering. Now, server-side rendering is different. When your browser makes a request, or when Googlebot makes a request, the HTML and all the code is already in the server itself. So what's being sent, the server is sending a ready to be rendered HTML file, right? And then your browser downloads that information, and Googlebot downloads the information, and Googlebot can see all of the content within the file, and that makes it easy for Google to see the content, to access the content, and to display the content when users are trying to make a search that's related to that content. And if Google can't see that content, or can't see the links on the page or anything as a result of the content being hidden by JavaScript, then it's going to be hard for you to get indexed. It's going to be hard for you to rank. So, whenever you're working with a developer, you want to definitely recommend to use server-side rendering over client-side rendering in all cases. This is what we prefer because it's just better and more friendly with you know, to Googlebot, and that is our goal as an SEO, and a regular web developer is not going to know that. So we have to inform them of that, and remind them of that so that they can be cognizant of that when they're making these changes. Um, and that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. I know it was pretty lengthy, but I'm glad that I was able to present. So thanks for watching this today. And um, if you have any questions, you can shoot me an email at dre@dreseanryan.com. Also, one of the things I want to say is just a I'm just gonna pitch myself real quick. I am going to be having a coaching program, so you're gonna be able to learn everything that I know. You're gonna be able to learn all of this stuff. So if you're interested, I'm only working with 4 people for a limited time right now, and you're gonna be able to find all the information about this coaching program on my website. If you go to dreseanryan.com/SEO coaching, there's a few things that I'm going to update on there, but essentially it's going to be $500 a month. It's going to be 4 people that I'm going to be working with. It's going to be you're going to it's going to be a group type of thing. In the beginning, we're going to have a strategy call where I'm going to understand your goals and stuff and what you want to learn. But I'm working with 4 people right now, so if you're interested in that, let me know. It's only going to be 4 people again, so definitely take advantage of this while you can. It's not going to be around forever. And that being said, thanks a lot, guys, for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.